More Than Strength. Today's podcast is brought to you by Reynolds Strong, high-touch, personalized online strength coaching from the convenience of your own home at a schedule that works for you. Go to reynoldsstrong.com for more information on how to make online coaching work for you. Welcome to More Than Strength. I'm Dan Flanick, and today I'm joined by the founder of the Art of Manliness, Brett McKay. And I would try and explain what the Art of Manliness is in a short summary, but I think you'd do a better job. So welcome, and can you explain to people who don't know what it is, what Art of Manliness is and does?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Dan. So the Art of Manliness is a website I started back in 2008. It's a men's lifestyle site, similar to what, Esquire or Men's Health or GQ, but not as foo-foo-y, I guess would be the best way to describe it. We talk about fitness, we talk about family, we talk about personal finances, style. Then we also talk about like what it means to be a man, and the idea of manliness or manhood that I'm trying to capture in the Art of Manliness is this traditional or classical ideal of manliness that the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans had, and that we had in the West for most of our human history until, fairly recently, where manliness meant being a man of virtue. And that meant acquiring traits like, temperance, perseverance, strength is one, not just physical strength, but strength of character, strength of intellect, etc. And just being excellent in all aspects of your life. So that's what we do. If you go to the site, that's the kind of content you're going to find. It really is. We run the gamut of just all sorts of stuff. You're going to find, if you don't like one thing we do, you'll probably find something you do like. I started in 2008 while I was a law student at the University of Tulsa College of Law. Had no plans of this being my full-time gig. I thought I was going to be like an oil and gas lawyer in downtown Tulsa. But it took off because I think it struck a chord with a lot of guys. And so that's what I'm doing full time now. It's what I do, the site and the podcast.
Yeah, so I stumbled upon you through Starting Strength, which was something that attracted me because that's what I'm a huge fan of that. I mean, I became a Starting Strength coach. I really love the ideology behind it. And so I stumbled upon you actually using your videos that where Mark Ripto was teaching you how to perform all the lifts. I use those a ton for studying for the actual the certification process, becoming a Starting Strength coach. And then I stumbled upon other things, and I'm about to be 24, so I was like, oh man, these are really helpful, useful tips and articles and how to do like manage my finances and just style and like exactly what you just described. But the main thing that really drew me to you was your powerful influence in the male community, and I really love that you sent the message, or you continue to send the message, that strength is, I think one of your articles, you said it's the nucleus for being a man. And I thought that was really, really, it really hit home with me. So I want to really dive in a little bit to your experience with strength. And I know that you're a proponent of Starting Strength and you barbell train. And actually Matt Reynolds is the one who connected us. He's a huge mentor and good friend of mine. And I know that you train with him. And I get to see the videos of you deadlifting 500 pounds, squatting over 400 pounds. So tell me about the process that took you to the point where the switch went off in your brain or the light bulb went off that made you realize, like, you know what, I need to get strong. Like what took you to that point?
Right. So I've been barbell training since high school. I started lifting when I was 14 because I played football. And so during the, this off season, during the summers, we did the typical strength and conditioning programs you'd find in most American high school football teams or locker rooms. So it was bench press, high bar squat. They didn't teach low bar squat, incline bench, right, and the power clean. Those were the stuff. And then all the speed and agility stuff that you do. And so I loved it. Even then, I really loved it. And I got, fairly strong in high school. I think it was, on the high bar, I was squatting like 400, but I'm not even sure I got full depth on a lot of those, probably cheated. Bench press, I got up to 285, power cleaning, 225. And I loved it. And then when I finished football, it was big, I was strong, but then I just went through this phase, like, you know what? I don't need to weigh 220 pounds anymore. So I switched tracks on my fitness. So I did sort of more bodybuilding type stuff, a lot of cardio, and I dropped a lot of weight. I dropped 40 pounds. And so from college until about 2 years ago, when I started doing starting strength and Gusto, I was about 185, sometimes got down to 170, 175, kind of emaciated. And then someone introduced me to Mark Ripito. I'd heard of him before. I knew about him, and did a podcast with him. And then I went down there to Wichita Falls, do those videos on how to do the basic barbell lifts. And I was like, I want to do this again. Like it rekindled that passion that I had for just simple lifting, where you progressively get better. There's a satisfaction that comes where, particularly when you're on that novice progressions, like every workout, it's like you're hitting PRs. It feels great. And then even when you move to an intermediate or advanced, it feels amazing that you make, even if the increase is just incremental, like so much goes into that, and it requires so much dedication that it feels good when it happens. So yeah, I started doing barbell training again in Gusto about 2 years ago. And then I linked up with Matt last year. It's been about a year, online training with him, and he's helped phenomenally. One issue I had with starting strength was the low bar squat. I was getting terrible bicep tendonitis because what was happening is I was setting up wrong. Instead of getting the hands over the bar off the get-go, I kind of ratchet myself in there and then try to get and it was just causing all this strain on my biceps. And so it was so bad that I would do starting strength for like 2 months, and then I'd have to stop because it's just like, I can't do this, it's painful. And Matt started working with me, and we fixed that right away. And I hadn't had an issue with bicep tendonitis since then. So yeah, it's been great working with him. I've been able to hit a lot of PRs that I never thought I would be able to hit. And I'm 33, but deadlifting 500 pounds, I was able to PR at 410 on my squat, getting close to 315 on my bench, which has been a goal of mine since I was like 16 years old. And got really close when I was in high school, but then it just never happened for me. And it's great to think that, man, my 30-year-old self would be able to kick my 18-year-old self's butt, right? That feels awesome. And getting close to a 200-pound shoulder press. But I mean, the reason why I love barbell training, well, first, I hate running. I don't like cardio or even like sprint conditioning. Just never enjoyed that. So that's why I go with barbell training. But there's a satisfaction with being strong. Because it allows you to be effective in the world in so many ways. Like, as Ripito kind of harps on, it's like strong people are harder to kill and generally more useful. Mm-hmm. And it's true. When you're strong, you can lift heavy things. You're more vital. I mean, strength is super important as you get older, because weakness is like what kills you as you get older. I mean, the thing that kills old people is that they can't get up from a fall or get up off the ground or get up off of the bed. So they just sit there and sort of atrophy and wither away and die. And they've actually done studies that, older people who can get themselves up off the ground using as few limbs as possible or few support as possible, like their mortality rate is extremely low. Like they're going to live a lot longer than people who can't do that. So strength's just great for living, right? And encountering the world. And then I also think strength is just, it builds, I mean, it's going to sound cheesy. I'm the hardest way inner football coach. Like strength builds character. Like building physical strength builds physical or, emotional or soul character, as we'll call it. And what's interesting is that the ancients made this connection between physical strength and moral strength, thousands of years ago. They believed that if you were strong in body, you would be able to be strong in character, right? Because the dedication, the fortitude that it takes to develop a strong body, those sort of principles are what it takes to develop a strong character, right? The sort of dedication, discipline, tenacity, willpower to push yourself beyond your comfort zone, to say no to things, right? I'm talking about in like the moral realm. Say no to things that otherwise your body would be like, no, I want to do that. But like having the willpower to say no, like physical training can help strengthen that sort of that moral or character willpower as well. I mean, and it's amazing when you see guys who start, even not just strength training, but just any type of like physical training regimen, how it transforms and carries over to other aspects of their life. They might have been just really slovenly, not really had any ambition or drive, but they start doing that physical exercise and they show to themselves that, boy, I can push myself further or harder than I thought I could do. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what, if when people ask me, like, how can I get my life going where I'm not in the place where I want to be right now. What can I do to kickstart? It's like, start training, do something, right? I mean, I would recommend barbell training. I'm going to push them towards that. But it's like, if it's like running a 5K, do that, because it requires you to stick to a training program, to get up, to go and do the run or the program. Even if you don't feel like it, you're tired, you're going to go do it, because that's going to carry over to other areas and aspects of your life.
Yeah. And to kind of hit on your point a little bit, like do something, I wanted to pick your brain about something like, and I just recently experienced this with, maybe not that recently, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago now, but I see in like media and fitness, and like you walk to the grocery store and you go in the aisle and the magazine racks right there, and it's just guys who just look shredded as anything. And it makes me wonder, I'm not sure what my opinion is on it yet, because there's that idea of do something, right? And so I'm thinking of me at 18 years old when I was 170 pounds soaking wet with rocks in my pockets, looking at that magazine and then going to the gym because for cosmetic reasons, like wanting to look like that, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, but I wish that the message of train your body to, like you just said, like train for something like a 5K, or for me, it's a train to be able to deadlift 500 or 600 pounds. I wish that message would have been sent at an earlier age to me, because I think it would have allowed me to enter into this idea of just progressively getting a little bit better each time and teaching me those virtues and those values that you just described, that we've had really since the ancients. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Do you think that that's an issue? Do you think that media and social media and just, I mean, if you go on Instagram right now and you look up fitness, like what's going to pop up? It's going to pop up. It's either going to be a girl in a thong, or it's going to be a dude, with shredded abs, kind of sending that message. Do you think that that is a good thing, or do you think it would be better suited to be the other way?
Right. So yeah, that's an interesting topic. So I mean, it has to do with like body image, and we often think of body image issues being a problem primarily of women, right? Like the anorexia and the bulimia and like just doing all this stuff to like look attractive, but like it's starting to affect men now, because as you said, all the stuff that's put out there in the popular media and these like fitness people, and I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, some of these guys take it to the extreme where like they're, doing all these weird diets where they're not eating. And then they go to the extremes where like they're pumping their bodies like full of oil. You seen that thing?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. The guy with like the arms.
yeah, they'll inject themselves with oil, or like not even like that extreme. Like they'll like get calf implants or pec implants or ab implants. So it looks like they have. And so, yeah, this is starting to affect guys. And yeah, I think it is an issue, because look, bodybuilders, what they do, I mean, it's amazing what they can do with sculpt their bodies. It does take an insane amount of discipline and dedication and willpower to transform or sculpt your body the way they do. But I mean, the issue that I have with bodybuilding is that it's very, I mean, it's the only purpose it serves is to look good. It's totally aesthetic. And my philosophy towards fitness and strength is like, you be strong to be useful. There was a great 19th century physical culturist. He's a French guy named George Herbet or something like that. Anyways, that was his motto: be strong to be useful. And when you make that your philosophy for strength or for fitness, like I actually find it more motivating. It's like, I'm doing this so I can like roughhouse with my kids and not like pull my, get a herniated disc while I'm doing it. I'm doing this so I can like lift up bags of sod when I'm working in the yard, or like help an elderly neighbor, like work in their garden. I'm not going to get, I'm not going to wake up sore and in pain because I don't have the strength to do that. So whenever you make your fitness other focused, I actually think it's a bigger motivator than making it just like aesthetics. And as well, I mean, you provide more value to people. You feel better whenever you can be useful to others, right? People value you more when you do that. And the other issue with the sort of the fitness image of being shredded or whatever and ripped, I mean, yeah, it takes amazing dedication, but like you have to like you do a lot of damage to your body to look like that. I mean, just like in my own experience, when I've tried to do a cut, right, like my strength just plummets dramatically. And yeah, I look a little trimmer, and it's nice, but it's like, man, I can't, like this lift that would have just been super easy a month ago, I can't get it up anymore. And it's like, it sucks. And so, I just did this cut, dropped a bit of body fat, but I'm like, man, that sucked. I'm going to get back to it. So I'm like putting on the calories slowly again, and I feel great. So yeah, to get in that place, you have to be miserable, right? And if you ask bodybuilders, they'll tell you that, like, you're going to be miserable to look like this. So, I want my fitness and my strength programming to be sustainable. So if I have to like be miserable for like 6 months to like look a certain way, I'm not going to do that. And also, I mean, like the problem with the whole body image, like the making your fitness aesthetic based, is that a lot of that stuff is just genetics, right? Like, so if you're going to have the musculature underneath your body fat to like look like that, you might not have that. Or no matter what you do, like you're not going to be as shredded as some of these other guys. Like you're not, what's in an ectomorph or an endomorph, whatever body, like that's you. Like you can do a bit, but like there's not much you can do. And that can be frustrating for guys because they just keep banging their head against the wall thinking they could look like that. But, a lot of they just missed the genetic jackpot.
Yeah, and it's so subjective too, I think, and like I said, for bodybuilding, like the professional bodybuilders, what most people don't understand, or most like teenagers or young guys going to the gym, is they don't understand is that those guys are also super strong. Yeah, they're on a bunch of steroids, but they're also really strong too. But it's funny you say that about, it's always a constant fight to stay shredded. And even when you could be another percent body fat lower, but you still, oh, you're right. So Brett and I had a small technical issue, which will be back in about 30 seconds, but it does serve as a good time to do our small commercial break. And if you are listening to this episode and you're thinking to yourself, damn, I really want to get strong now, but you don't have access to a good strength coach or a starting strength coach, the best alternative is an online coach. Both Brett and I use Matt Reynolds of ReynoldsStrong.com as our online coach, where we get a personalized program and we get to post videos on a private forum where Matt Reynolds and his staff, which I'm a part of, help you to perfect your form and give you feedback on each of your training sessions. The coolest part about it, though, is you get to join a family of other like-minded people from around the country and even around the world who have similar goals as you. Essentially, you have a virtual training family who are there to encourage you and support you during your path to getting strong. Now, back to the interview with Brett. All right, so sorry about that. Just lost some connection, but we'll be back on track. So I kind of forget what I was saying, but I remember my point was that, bodybuilders they're really strong, and then it's a fight to stay shredded. And even if you're, you might be 1% less body fat, but when you're looking in the mirror is so subjective. It's never a good guide to objectively say, oh, look, I made progress. So it kind of makes this, this cyclical or this cycle of I'm not good looking enough, I'm not shredded enough, I'm not ripped enough. So I think it really does. If you don't understand that those guys spent a lot of time getting like really strong and big before they started doing like those cuts, and after they built muscle, it kind of creates this like skinny, six-pack, big pecked, bicep looking weird figure, which I was that guy, curling in the squat rack, winking at the girls on the treadmill when I was in school. But it's funny because actually now, like you said before, like with a little extra body fat on you and being stronger, you feel better. And we have a joke, like we actually started this stupid group called Fit Club, and our motto is towing the line between chubby and muscular. And it's funny because it's all guys like that who are like, yeah, being thick, it's awesome. And a lot of people discovered what it was like. But getting to my point is that those intrinsic type motivations, like we know this already, but people still tend to go toward those extrinsic, more, it's not really materialistic, but those surface level type goals that really, like you said, aren't sustainable. So with that being said, how do you think that, embracing that intrinsic motivation to progress yourself and better yourself, physically, but also mentally, how do you think that has translated over to your personal life, both as a husband and a father, and then also to Art of Manliness?
Sure. So, I wrote an article a while back ago, saying every man should be strong. And so, I think all people should be strong, old people, women, whatever. But I think, particularly for men, like being strong, like it's in our DNA, right? Like that's one of the things that separates us generally from women. There are some super strong women, right? There are always exceptions. There's like some super weak men. But generally men are stronger than women because we have more testosterone, we have more androgen receptors, like we're designed to be strong. And so, it just, whenever you fulfill or try to maximize or optimize that strength to the best of your ability, like it just makes you feel more confident. It makes you feel manly. That sounds, a lot of people, that's dumb, but like it feels awesome to be like, I'm strong. Like I can like lift up my wife. I can lift up my kids. I could carry them. I can lift 500 pounds off the floor. It's amazing that I can do that. I think for men, if you're looking for that confidence that you might feel like you're lacking, like getting strong, physically can help with that. And you might think that's silly, but it's just all psychological. Whatever it is, it works though. That's all I think that matters. As far as being a better dad, I feel like I've providing a good example for my children about fitness, that, fitness is an important part of your life. It should be, part of your daily routine, that health and strength and conditioning is something that will give you a fulfilling life. So what's great about having the garage gym in my house is that my kids can watch me work out and they can see, wow, dad really puts in, this is really important for dad. So I'm going to follow his example. And, the research actually shows that kids follow their dad more than the mom when it comes to physical fitness. So if, there's this one study that found that if a mom's overweight, but the dad is, in good condition, like the kids are more likely to be physically fit. So they follow the dad. And even if the dad's overweight, but the mom is physically fit, it doesn't matter if the mom's physically fit, the kids are still going to be overweight because they're going to check dad's cues.
Did they say why? Did they say why that is, or?
They don't, no why. That's one of the, just sort of the trend they found. That I think is that's made me a better dad. And that way I'm trying to help my kids make that an important part of their life. Being a better husband, I think my wife has, more confidence in me when I'm physically strong. She finds me more attractive. She'll, when she gives me a hug and she'll feel my lats from deadlifting, she's like, wow, you're solid, and it's like,
thick club.
Yeah, you're in the thick club, right? I think when we first started dating, I was just finishing high school football. I was a freshman in college. So I was bigger, and she liked the bigger Brett. And then when I went through this thing where I got really skinny, she's like, yeah, you look kind of emaciated, like you're kind of wafy. You need to, put on some meat. And so, I think she's happy that I've gotten back the big B, as she calls it.
Do you find that, I don't know if it'd be completely universal, like every woman, but like talking with your friends, do you find that women are typically attracted to that thicker type guy? Do you think that's like a genetic thing?
I don't know if it's like, typical like thicker guys, but just physically fit, strong guys. So, what the psychology and the sociology and all these other studies show that the ideal body type for a woman is a man with broader shoulders and a tapered torso, right? Because it just shows, because like a man's shoulders, so like all males in every species of animals have like their version of, dominance display, like the thing on them that shows that they are awesome. So for peacocks, it's the feathers. For deer, it's the antlers. For human males, it's our shoulders, right? I mean, that's sort of like our human antlers that show that, yeah, we are strong, don't mess with us. So, man, if you can get, some thick lats and some big shoulders and a narrowed, torso, like women generally find that attractive. Of course, physical attraction is like any other thing. Some people are going to find just different things attractive. They might like the skinny guy for whatever reason. But generally that's most women find, large, broad shoulders, the V torso attractive.
So you can increase your probability.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's good to know. So for guys out there listening, you can increase your probability of having more women attracted to you.
Right. There you go. And then also just being strong, or looking, being strong. If you are strong, you're going to look strong. Right. I mean, that, I feel more confident that I can, protect my family, right? Like when I'm walking around with them, like, I'm pretty big guy now. I feel physical. Like I don't feel people are going to like mess with my family when I'm around because I'm around, right? They can see that guy. I don't want to mess with that guy. So I'm just going to stay away. And, criminals, whatever you want to say, like most criminals are criminals of opportunity. If they feel like there's a weakness there that they can go after and take advantage of, they're going to do it. But if they see that, like, man, if I mess with that guy, I'm going to get hurt. That would cause me some more problems than it's worth. Like, they're not going to mess with you. So yeah, that's another reason to get strong. So just sort of a deterrence to altercations that could happen in life.
So it's almost like instinctual. Like those guys, they might not even be thinking. Well, they probably do think it in their head afterward. Like, that guy's pretty big. I'm not going to go mess with him.
I mean, yeah, it's just like with deer is another example. Like the deer with the larger antlers, like they're not going to get messed with, because if another deer does decide to mess with him, like he knows he's going to get hurt. And like, I don't want to get into that. That's not worth it. So they just leave him alone. So if you got your big man antlers on your shoulders, like it's a deterrent on an unconscious primal level, I guess.
Yeah, just go grow those mantlers.
Mantlers.
So what about, like, because the thing, especially with starting strength specifically, and one of the reasons, like, I think the program is so great for novices or beginners to start with is, like you had described before, just going in each time and it's a little heavier, a little heavier, a little heavier, and you just get a little bit better. It really teaches you persistence and patience at the same time, and how to overcome things that you don't think that you're really that capable of. Like if someone's starting off and they're, a guy starts off and day one, he squats 135, and I'm like, in 6 weeks, you're going to be squatting, well over 200 pounds. They're like, whoa, I don't know about that. It's really intimidating. Then they get there and they're like, wow, I can do this. Right. Do you think that process of learning how to overcome challenges has helped you in your personal life with Art of Manliness in the last couple of years?
Right. I mean, what I love about starting strength and the novice progression, and just even if you get into intermediate progression, is that it really does transfer to life. So like in any domain, you're going to have massive gains at the very beginning. That's what happens with linear progression. Every workout, like it's a straight line. It's awesome. And that's how it is, like in any other domain you're learning. You're going to have these quick gains where you feel like you're making really fast progress. Where I think the life lessons come is when in your strength training program, where that progression moves to a different level, where you're not progressing every workout, but maybe once a week or once a month. And that happens in other domains. Well, if you're a writer, or if you are, I don't know, whatever other, I can't think of it. I'm a writer, so that's what it applies to me. But like, to get better when you're already pretty good, like it's going to take more work, and the gains you see are going to take longer. And that lesson from strength training, I think, is very applicable to other areas of life. Once you get to an intermediate or an advanced program, it might be once a month where you hit a new PR, but you have to keep putting in the work, being consistent, and like trusting the program, trusting the system. Because eventually you'll break that plateau. And it's the same thing with any other thing. If you're like for me, if I'm writing, like I know I need to write every single day. Some days are not going to be good writing sessions. Some workouts you have, they're just going to suck, right? You're not going to hit the lift that you're supposed, the way you're supposed to hit. That's okay. You still go at it. You still be consistent. You still try to be consistent, because that improvement will come eventually. So that aspect, I think, has really helped me in my life. It's just there's I forgot the name of the wrestler. I forgot his name. He's like a famous wrestler, collegiate wrestler.
Mhm.
But he had this phrase called the patience of change, right? And sometimes change just is going to take a long time, and you have to accept that, but still put in the work and wait on that change or that improvement's going to happen. A great example of the patience of change in strength training that I heard was Chris Duffin, the power lifter. I had him on a podcast, and he was telling me that he went a year without hitting a new PR. I forgot on which lift. And he said it was frustrating, but like he says, I'm such an advanced level, like that's just part of the game. Like it might be a year before I hit another PR, and I just kept at it, kept at my training, was consistent, and I eventually hit it. I feel like a lot of people in their physical fitness or their strength training, like once they hit that plateau, they're like, well, I got to do something different now, right? So, okay, that starting strength's not working anymore. I'm going to go to this bodybuilding complex or this powerlifting complex. It's like, or like any other thing, like, and you can apply that in your other areas of life. Like, well, I'm not making any progress. I got to try some new thing that will like magically get me to where I want to go. So they experiment with all these life hacks and all these productivity things, and like it doesn't work, right? If you just stick with the basics in starting strength, if you just stick with the program, you're gonna see those gains come. They're gonna come slowly, more slower, but they're gonna come. In your life, you just stick with the program. Whatever it worked before, it will continue. Yeah, you might make a few adaptations, but for the most part, if you just stick to it, it's going to work. You just have to realize that the changes are going to come more slowly.
Yeah, I love hearing what people get out of strength training other than, I can squat 400 pounds. I like hearing those kind of anecdotes that you get from just getting under the bar for a consistently long duration of time. I do want to ask you, I want to kind of wrap it up now, but I would like to ask you just I think it's really advice I'd like to hear, but I think would be useful for other people who are my age or maybe other people who are older than I am too. But if you could, 33 years old, looking back at maybe your 18-year-old self, like what's a piece of advice that you would give your 18-year-old self looking back now?
That's a great question. I think one thing is here's something. So two things. One is the patience of change. Like understand that you have these wild, crazy goals. Some of them you're going to reach really fast, but other ones are going to take a long time, right? You've got I think there's a lot of really young guys. They think like, I got to have my life set in my mid-20s, like making major bank, have a house, like, travel the world, blah, 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 blah. It's like, for most people, it's going to take a lifetime to get to that point, right? You have to acquire skills, you have to save your money, you have to, it takes time. So be patient with your goals, set them, but be patient. And the other one would be understand that once you achieve these goals that you might have, you're probably not going to be as excited as you think you'd be, right? I think a lot of guys set these goals, man, once I deadlift 500 pounds, right? Here's an example from my life will it'll just feel so great. It'll be amazing. Like I remember when I deadlifted 500 pounds, I was like, okay, that was cool. And it's like, you got to be ready to move on to the next thing, right? Life is not these moments of just peak greatness. Like once you climb one hill, once you're at the top, you realize there's a whole bunch of other mountains you got to climb. There's never any end point. You're always progressing. There's always going to be another hill to climb, another mountain to climb. So understand that, yeah, even when you achieve some goals, you're probably not going to feel as accomplished or fulfilled as you thought you would. So be prepared for that. It might be a letdown, but that's okay. That's part of life because you're ready to move on to something else. And it's just continual progression and growth.
Thank you for that. That's fantastic advice. I wanted to wrap up there, but first, where can people find you? Where's your website so you can let them know?
Sure. artofmanliness.com, and you'll find everything there, podcast, all the other stuff that we do there.
All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we finish up?
No, just thanks for having me. This was a fun talk.
Thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this interview with Brett McKay. Please go to iTunes and give us a good rating and reviews. It really helps us out a lot. And stay tuned for next week because we have another guest on the show who we're going to be talking to, who's the starting strength staff coach, and her name is Nikki Sims, and she is going to give us her perspective on strength from a woman's point of view, which is definitely an underrepresented point of view in the strength and conditioning world. Thanks for listening, and I'm out.